even being aware of all my limitations. It was pure magic, and I believe they were happy in the brief moment.
Leaked! New female robot, May Boston Dynamics news. From new videos of Boston Dynamics robots showing some rad moves, robots being accepted as mascots in schools, and brand new logistics robots now available for purchase, all the way to Robot Spot guarding Pompeii's ruins and making an appearance in the Metaverse, we have it all and more in today's monthly roundup of the most interesting news coming out of Boston Dynamics. So, let's jump right in. Spot footloose in a factory in latest video. Spot, the most famous four-legged robot in the world, sometimes seems more like an animatronic entertainer than an industrial machine. But creators Boston Dynamics want to remind the world at large in a new video that this thing can do work too. The new Spot, titled No Time to Dance, shows the quadrupedal bot carrying out a range of tasks in an industrial setting. Spot takes readings from gauges, uses an infrared camera to scan some equipment, and generates work orders for human employees. And yes, then it does a little dance as well. It's a slick video, testimony to Boston Dynamics' ability to make a robot that has been tested for use with both the military and law enforcement seem cute and harmless. And to be fair, it is harmless. It's just the way humans might put it to use that are worrying. The video is really a way to show off a bunch of small but useful upgrades that Boston Dynamics is announcing for the Spot. The robot's 5 stereo cameras now produce full-color imagery. Its tablet controller has been upgraded to a Samsung unit with a larger screen, longer battery life, and ruggedized case. It has a new charging module, and it has a new system-on-chip for faster on-device AI processing and 5G compatibility. For the spec-hungry among you, the module is an NVIDIA Jetson Xavier NX with, if BD is using the regular loadout, 384 CUDA cores, 48 tensor cores, and 6 ARM CPUs. Again, all of this is to remind you that Spot is a tool, not a toy, and that it's looking for work. Louisville High School's robot mascot. Meet Central High School's newest four-legged canine mascot, Reggie. Reggie's not like your typical dog. He's a SpotBot 3.0.0, a robotic dog that can do what most other dogs do, but can also calculate challenging mathematical equations. Reggie could even make a 3D map of an entire building. Central is only one of 2 schools in the country to get a SpotBot, which is designed by Boston Dynamics Engineering. Christopher Brown, a teacher at Central, said that having Reggie puts the school and Kentucky at the forefront of STEM education and innovation. As a teacher, if we are not seeing into the future of labor and how automation is changing the paradigm of how we work, then we are doing our kids a disservice, he said. These types of bots will only become more popular, and the 21st century workforce will require programmers, technicians, and educators to train the workforce to use these. Spot robot tested by GlobalFoundries. Semiconductor firm GlobalFoundries has deployed Boston Dynamics robot dog Spot to test its abilities around chip fab facility inspection. In a video posted to YouTube by Boston Dynamics, GlobalFoundries conducted a test to deploy Spot at its Burlington, Vermont semiconductor fab, where it manufactures 200mm chips. "We have a lot of equipment that's got a really long life cycle and a slow rate of change," said Samantha Garrison, automation lead, GlobalFoundries. "It's not economical for us to go and sensorize every piece of equipment in this really vast facility. It's probably more practical and actually quite a bit easier for us to implement to go and use the mobile robotics approach, one set of sensors, as opposed to fixed sensors in every location." The company, in partnership with software firm Levitas, tested Spot to explore potential applications for using the robot to gauge reading and external temperature checks of equipment and relay alerts to the facility team if there was anything that needed to be actioned on. Levitas makes machine learning software for the likes of gauge reading and thermal temperature measurements that can be deployed on machines such as Boston Dynamics Spot or DJI's Inspire 2 drone. Spot has an amazing athletic intelligence, but doesn't know necessarily what it's looking at, said Dan Zuba, Business Development and Growth at Levitas. "We can train Spot to know what it's looking at, and then to make decisions based off of that alerting. This equipment is too hot, or maybe there's something trending, and we're predicting that this needs to be fixed before it goes out." Cute, affordable Android pet. Say hello to Biddle. He isn't as dangerous looking as his elder brother, the Boston Dynamics robot dog Spot. In fact, Biddle's name rhymes with little for a reason. Weighing just 10.2 ounces or 290 grams and measuring a mere 7.9 inches from nose to tail, Biddle is quite literally palm-sized. Although, don't let its diminutive size fool you. Armed with 10 servo motors that power its limbs and neck, Biddle is just about as capable as the Boston Dynamics robot dog. In fact, it can even follow commands, learn tricks, and perform them at will. Sounds like Biddle's a pretty expensive little pet, right? Well, designed to be more of a robot building system and STEM education tool for people to learn and play with, Biddle just costs around $299. Designed on an open-source platform, Biddle is a nifty patent-pending robot that makes learning how to code an absolute treat. The robot building kit comes with a plastic body that you can buy flat-packed and assemble yourself, or pay $10 extra to get shipped pre-assembled and ready to use out of the box. Each Biddle comes with 10 servo motors, plastic body parts, a proprietary circuit board compatible with Arduino Uno, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi dongles, a 7.4-volt rechargeable battery, and an infrared remote to control your dog and have it perform tricks. For the most part, Biddle sports a modular design, and you can add or subtract elements to create the dog you dream of. If you're looking for something akin to the Boston Dynamics bot, the head pops right off. Logistics robot available for purchase. Stretch thus far hasn't been nearly as high profile as Spot. Understandably so. For one thing, it wasn't Boston Dynamics' first commercial robot after decades of research and development. For another, it's designed to mostly be behind the scenes, moving boxes around out of public view. As much as anything, Spot has been a kind of brand ambassador, courting publicity and a touch of controversy for the Hyundai-owned robot maker. Stretch, an offshoot of the company's Handle project, has been piloted with a limited number of customers in recent months. Boston Dynamics also secured a massive deal with DHL back in January for the purchase of $15 million worth of the robots. Other early clients include clothing chains Gap and H&M. Earlier this month, the system went on sale for anyone who wants to purchase one. Well, goes on reservation is probably a more accurate way of putting it, as deliveries are not expected until 2023 and 2024. The company predictably cites ongoing labor issues as a key driver in interest around the new robot. It will be interesting to watch these systems perform in the world. Thus far, we've mostly seen Boston Dynamics videos in controlled environments. Stretch faces some stiff competition. Warehouse and logistics have been one of the top categories for robotics in recent years, as companies have looked for a leg up against Amazon's large automation army. More recently, they're searching for systems that can help fill employment gaps. Now guarding Pompeii's ancient ruins. The Boston Dynamics canine robot, known as Spot, is now patrolling archaeological areas and structures at Pompeii in Italy, the archaeological park of Pompeii has recently announced. The agile robot is being used to identify structural and safety issues at Pompeii, an ancient Roman city encased in volcanic ash following the 79 CE eruption of Mount Vesuvius, such as narrow passages and uneven surfaces, while also inspecting underground tunnels leading to and from the site that were dug by thieves to steal, and later sell, ancient relics. The robot is the latest in a broader initiative to transform Pompeii into a smart archaeological park with intelligent, sustainable, and inclusive management. The impetus for this integrated technological solution started in 2013, when UNESCO identified structural deficiencies and damage at Pompeii and threatened to remove the site from its World Heritage List unless measures were taken to improve its preservation. In 2012, Italy intensified their crackdown on culture-related crime, and there's been a corresponding decrease in theft on the site. However, tunnels are still being identified in the surrounding area. The goal, as noted in the release, is to improve both the quality of monitoring of the existing areas and to further our knowledge of the state of progress of the works in areas undergoing recovery or restoration, and thereby to manage the safety of the site as well as that of workers. We wish to test the use of these robots in the underground tunnels that were made by illegal excavators and which we are uncovering in the area around Pompeii, as part of a memorandum of understanding with the Public Prosecutor's Office of Torre Annunziata, led by Nunzio Fragliasso, said Pompeii's Director General Gabriel Zuchtriegel in a statement. Often, the safety conditions within the tunnels dug by grave robbers are extremely precarious, as a consequence of which the use of a robot could signify a breakthrough that would allow us to proceed with greater speed and in total safety. Roboticist on why she loves working at Boston Dynamics. Cassie Moreira already had a strong interest in robotics while in high school, but she says she didn't realize a career was a possibility and thought instead that it would remain simply a hobby. But when she graduated, she decided to apply for a position at robot builder Boston Dynamics, even though she considered it a long shot. They took her on. Answering a range of questions from curious youngsters, Moreira says in a 5-minute video on Boston Dynamics' YouTube channel that in high school she tried everything, including horticulture, graphic design, and computer repair, and ended up fascinated by computer repair, which included a weekly robotics class. Moreira also reveals what it was that got her interested specifically in robotics and how long it takes to make a robot.
My day thinking I'm going to do one thing and then it ends up being something completely different. You don't get bored really doing robotics. At first I didn't know what I wanted to study for those 4 years, so I tried horticulture, graphic design, and computer repair. A robotics class once a week, which is eventually what brought me here. Sometimes we do things for the first time like dancing and end up breaking something, and this is helpful because this makes our robots better and more reliable.
Turning to Spot, Boston Dynamics' impressive dog-like robot, someone asks if humans have total control over the talented quadruped. Reassuringly, for those fearing the robot uprising, Moreira responds, yes, Spot does not have a mind of its own. You have a controller where you can directly command Spot, kind of like an Xbox controller, or you can program it to do an autonomous mission. But all of these things you are setting up and defining for Spot. Some fun questions are also asked like, can Spot help with my homework? Sorry, no. And can I drive the robot into or over a classmate? Well, they try to build in obstacle avoidance smarts, so hopefully no.
Can I drive the robot into or over a trash can or a classmate? It's a great question. If a human lays down on the floor and you're not very big, it might think you're a step. Bake in obstacle avoidance into our robots from a software and vision perspective that it could walk over, so I wouldn't say to try that.
Moreira also drops an exciting tidbit about Spot, revealing that while it's currently geared toward performing tasks in industrial settings, such as warehouses and other company facilities, the Boston Dynamics team would eventually like to adapt the robot for a household environment too. The trained electrical engineer also has tips for anyone keen to start building their own robots and reveals what kind of people might be suited for a career in robotics. Moreira wrote last year how she hopes more women will follow her into the field of robotics and associated subjects, pointing to a study that revealed how women account for only about a quarter of the workforce in science and engineering roles, though in robotics that figure stands at around a fifth. Hyundai to invest $5 billion in robotics. South Korea's Hyundai Motor Group said recently that it will invest an additional $5 billion in the United States for robotics and autonomous driving software development, just a day after announcing a similar size investment to build an electric vehicle plant in the U.S. Hyundai Motor Group chairman Wee Sung Chung made the latest announcement in his meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden, who was in Seoul for his 3-day visit. Hyundai Motor Group plans to invest an additional $5 billion through 2025, which will strengthen our collaboration with American enterprises in diverse technologies, such as robotics, urban air mobility, autonomous driving, and artificial intelligence, the chairman said. This will enable us to grow into a company that offers better convenience and safety to our customers. Through the investments, the group will provide U.S. customers with innovative products and solutions, and contribute to global carbon neutrality efforts, Chung said. We also stand ready to work towards achieving the Biden administration's goal of achieving 40 to 50% zero-emission EV sales in the United States by 2030, he said. Biden said auto companies, the American United Auto Workers, and federal governors all understand the same basic thing, that electric vehicles are good for our climate goals, but they're also good for jobs and they're good for business. Investing aggressively in electric vehicles and battery production now, not tomorrow, is also important in strengthening our long-term economic security and accelerating progress towards a clean energy future, Biden said. Global car makers have been racing to go eco-friendly amid tightened regulations on emissions of greenhouse gases, which scientists say are to blame for global warming. As for details of the planned investments, Hyundai said the company has yet to decide on whether to invest in robotics through Boston Dynamics Inc. or M&As. The group acquired the US-based robotics firm Boston Dynamics for $880 million in June last year to strengthen its competitiveness in future mobility solutions. It didn't provide detailed plans either for investments in other sectors. Spot goes into the Metaverse. One thing's for certain, Hyundai has some grand ambitions for its robotics development. And thus far, the automaker has been willing to put its money where its mouth is, most notably in the form of its acquisition of Boston Dynamics, which valued the robotics pioneer at north of $1 billion. Robotics were, predictably, taking center stage with the company's CES presentation earlier. Hyundai previously offered a sneak preview in the form of the mobile eccentric droid, a four-wheel modular mobility platform. And now the company has outlined broader plans for the future with its new meta-mobility concept. Hyundai will be revealing more information about its strategy and will be speaking to some executives to get a better idea of what it might look like in practice. For now, the broad idea was presented under the banner of expanding human reach, which aims to find a role for mobility and robotics in a virtual reality metaverse. It's hard to separate the buzzwords from the practical implications at this early stage, but a primary component seems to be the use of hardware to serve as a kind of real-world proxy for VR interactions. For now, let's just say there are a lot of big promises surrounding a lack of tangibility that has long been a root problem for VR applications. Here's Hyundai Motor Group President Chang Song. The idea behind meta-mobility is that space, time, and distance will all become irrelevant. By connecting robots to the metaverse, we will be able to move freely between both the real world and virtual reality. Going one step further from the immersive Be There proxy experience that the metaverse provides, robots will become an extension of our own physical senses, allowing us to reshape and enrich our daily lives with meta-mobility. New York returns its police robodog. It seems that New Yorkers didn't want it. Earlier, the NYPD used Spot to defuse a hostage situation in the Bronx. When video of the device went viral, its flexible legs and camera for a head design spooked people. The robot is quadrupedal, but doesn't actually look like a dog. A more immediate comparison is the armed robots feature in a post-apocalyptic episode of Black Mirror. This comparison spread rapidly on social media. The NYPD's secrecy worked against it. There was no public comment process for Spot, and residents hadn't known to expect to see robot dogs respond to hostage situations. In the Bronx borough where the hostage incident happened, where police respond to calls for service often, many residents wondered whether they'd start seeing the dog show up frequently. Importantly, Spot was not armed. The robot used cameras and a microphone to scout areas that may be too dangerous for officers, such as hostage situations. Mostly, the robots are used to investigate downed power lines or gas leaks. But the robot dog label stuck because it was introduced in the context of policing, in the middle of a nationwide conversation on policing in use by a police force that purchases new equipment without public approval. Boston Dynamics said the company prohibits attaching weapons to its robots. In a statement Thursday, the company said, "We support local communities reviewing the allocation of public funds and believe Spot is a cost-effective tool comparable to historical robotic devices used by public safety to inspect hazardous environments." Kalos, the city council member, has said that the risk of mission creep, plus increasing militarization of police departments, including more uses of drones and robots in public health settings, meant it was time to act proactively. "I have no problem with using a robot to defuse a bomb, but it has to be the right use of a tool and the right type of circumstance," he said at the time. Ultimately, Miller, the NYPD's deputy commissioner, leaves open the possibility that the NYPD could one day use Spot again. Still, the city it returns to will be one that's very different from before, with a much larger understanding of both robots and how to tame, or, if necessary, terminate them. DHL Supply Chain invests $15 million. DHL Supply Chain, the global and North American contract logistics dealer within Deutsche Post DHL Group, announced a $15 million investment in robotic solutions from Boston Dynamics, the global leader in mobile robotics, to further automate warehousing in North America. The companies have signed a multi-year agreement that begins with equipping DHL facilities with Stretch, Boston Dynamics robots specifically designed to automate the unloading process in distribution centers. This agreement is the culmination of strategic collaboration between the two companies over the past few years as Stretch was being developed and tested. Boston Dynamics will deliver a fleet of Stretch robots to multiple DHL warehouses throughout North America over the next 3 years. The deal with DHL marks the first commercial purchase of Stretch, which was unveiled in 2021. The investment is part of DHL Supply Chain's accelerated digitalization agenda, a strategy for developing and scaling innovative solutions and new technologies. Stretch will tackle several box-moving tasks in the warehouse, beginning with truck unloading at select DHL facilities. Following the first deployment, the multi-purpose mobile robot will handle additional tasks to support other parts of the warehouse workflow, which will effectively automate warehouse operations. That's all for this video, folks. See you next month.